Before we begin, I want you to pause for just a moment. Look around wherever you are right now. Notice the walls, the floor beneath you, the space you occupy. Now imagine being told that this place never existed. Not that it was destroyed, not that it was abandoned, but that it was never here at all. And everyone around you agrees. Welcome to Briarwood, Mississippi. Or more accurately, to the place Briarwood insists was always empty. Before we continue, leave a comment telling us where you're listening from and the exact time of day or night you're hearing this story. These accounts have a way of resurfacing differently depending on who hears them and when. On the morning of May 14, 1872, Henry Collis stepped off a river ferry and onto the muddy banks of Briarwood, Mississippi. Collis was not a man prone to imagination. He was a land surveyor by trade. Numbers, boundaries, and measurements were his world. He had been sent to Briarwood to resolve what appeared to be a minor bureaucratic issue. A 3-acre plot of land on the eastern edge of town had been flagged for inconsistency. Locals referred to it casually as the church land, but county records showed something different. According to official documents, the land had never been developed. No permits, no tax records, no structures, nothing. Collis assumed it was a simple clerical error, until he saw the ground for himself. What greeted him was not open land, it was ruin. Stone foundations arranged in a rectangular layout, broken timbers half sunken into the soil, fragments of colored glass buried beneath moss and ivy. This was not farmland. This was not accidental debris. This was architecture, specifically the unmistakable footprint of a church. When Collis asked the nearest shopkeeper about it, the man didn't hesitate. Oh, that's where the old church used to be. No surprise, no confusion, just a statement of fact. As Collis questioned more residents, a consistent picture emerged. The church had been there as long as anyone could remember. Services every Sunday, Christmas hymns, funerals, weddings, and always the same name, Pastor Elijah Moore. People described him vividly: tall, soft-spoken, always dressed in black, a man whose sermons were said to linger in the mind long after services ended. But when Collis asked a simple follow-up question, something changed. When did the church close? The answers fractured. Some said before the Civil War. Others said it burned down. A few said it simply stopped opening. Several residents paused mid-sentence, then redirected the conversation entirely. What disturbed Collis wasn't confusion, it was avoidance. Back at the county office, Collis searched for records of Pastor Elijah Moore. There were none. No birth certificate, no marriage record, no death notice, no ordination papers. Yet newspaper archives told a different story. Marriage announcements officiated by Moore, baptism notices, donation acknowledgments for church repairs, all of them real. And all of them stopped abruptly in August of 1858. No farewell sermon, no closing announcement, just silence. It was as if the church had reached a point where it simply could not continue, and rather than acknowledge why, the town collectively agreed to forget it ever existed. The most revealing document Collis uncovered was a diary. It belonged to Margaret Ellis, a school teacher who lived in Briarwood in the 1850s. Her journal was found decades later among her personal effects. At first, her entries were ordinary: lessons taught, weather notes, church attendance. Then, in early 1858, the tone shifted. She wrote that Pastor Moore's sermons had changed.
One entry reads, "They no longer sound like sermons. They sound like accusations." She described parishioners sitting unnaturally still during services. No coughing, no shifting, no whispered prayers, just silence. She wrote, "They are afraid that moving might acknowledge something." Her final entry, dated July 1858, is brief. "I did not attend church today. Something has happened in that building. Everyone knows it. No one will say it." Weeks later, Margaret Ellis left Briarwood permanently. Oral histories collected years later agree on one point. The final service occurred on August 3, 1858. No bells rang afterward. The doors were locked. By the following Sunday, townspeople spoke of the land as though it were already empty. Children were warned not to play there, not because it was dangerous, but because, as one parent is reported to have said, "There's nothing there." When Henry Collis submitted his findings in 1872, his report was returned with a single handwritten note: "No structure of record. Survey complete." No investigation followed. Collis resigned his post 2 years later. He never spoke publicly about Briarwood again. In 1911, railroad expansion crews unearthed unmarked graves beneath the former church grounds. No names, no headstones, no explanation. The remains were reburied quietly. By the 1930s, Briarwood residents denied the church had ever existed. Folklorist Anne Delacruz noted something chilling during interviews. Those who remembered spoke softly. Those who denied spoke confidently. One man, shown a photograph of the ruins, said, "That isn't anything. You're mistaking shapes for meaning." No single document explains what happened inside that church, but patterns suggest something far more disturbing than destruction. A shared recognition, a collective agreement, a truth so destabilizing that acknowledging it would have unraveled the town itself. Erasure became survival. Today, the site is a parking lot. No marker, no plaque. County records still insist nothing was ever built there. Yet, beneath the asphalt, the foundations remain. Stone remembers what people choose to forget. The most unsettling aspect of Briarwood is not the missing church. It is the realization that an entire community can agree to pretend something never existed, not because they forgot, but because remembering was too dangerous. And if one town could do it, how many others have? Some silences are not empty. They are carefully maintained.